Ladies and gentlemen, the ICE raids just exploded nationwide. But what triggered it? It wasn't just Trump flipping policy. It wasn't just backlash from America First voters. No, what ignited this wave of arrests was a secret message that leaked straight from inside Iran. And what it said changed everything. Now, what we're talking about here is a desperate warning from Iran's exiled crown prince. This is a man who's watched the regime collapse from the shadows, who reached out directly to President Trump with one chilling alert: America is exposed. And so right now, the threat may already be inside of our borders. Now, President Trump didn't wait. Within hours, ICE launched the largest interior enforcement surge since Biden left office. Sanctuary cities hit, underground networks lit up. And what's coming next? We're only just the beginning. I mean, this is just the beginning to find out, guys. In just a minute, I want to share with you guys what the Crown Prince revealed, why ICE went operational immediately, and how this one leaked message may have just changed national security forever. Now, I'm going to break down the exact cities being hit first, the response from President Trump's White House, and why Iran's collapse could be the very beginning of a very dangerous shift right now, right here at home. So you do not want to miss a second of this. By the way, if you appreciate the videos and the updates, hit the like button, subscribe, because what you're about to hear has been buried until now. But this is the real story behind the raids. So let's go ahead and get into this. So let's talk about the moment that literally flipped everything on its head. Only 2 weeks ago, President Donald J. Trump, yes, the man who built an entire movement on America First, strong borders, and law and order, he did something that sent shockwaves through his own base. He issued an order for ICE to pause all enforcement activities at farms, restaurants, and hotels. The reasoning, he said that these industries were having trouble filling jobs with American labor. And while that might be true in some areas, that decision didn't sit right with millions of patriotic Americans who voted for Trump because they wanted illegal immigration stopped. Cold, no exceptions. Now, let's be honest. Many of us were stunned. I mean, it kind of felt like we were being blindsided, right? Commentators on the right lit up the airwaves. Influencers on social media exploded. And you saw the posts. Why are we going soft now? Did the donor class get to him? Like, we didn't fight this hard to give up now. These are all sorts of comments that people have been saying and thinking. And here's what separates Trump from the bureaucrats, the establishment, the old guard in DC. He actually listens. Now, unlike Biden, who spent years ignoring border chaos and gaslighting the American people, President Trump, he took the heat. He looked at the facts and made a total reversal. Within days, he lifted the pause. And he didn't just quietly go back to business as usual. He ordered the largest ICE enforcement surge that this country has seen in over half a decade. And it's happening right now. In fact, this morning, ICE launched coordinated raids across at least 12 major cities, including the usual hot zones, New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, and Atlanta, but also Portland, Minneapolis, Philadelphia, and San Francisco. No safe havens, no sanctuary zones. Agents are going door to door at flagged safe houses, back entrances of hotels, and illegal labor camps operating under false business licenses. So we've confirmed reports of over 2,000 detentions within the first 18 hours. But here's the part that nobody's talking about yet. And it's the part that mainstream media will absolutely ignore. This wasn't just a response to domestic pressure. This was triggered by a foreign intelligence leak. You heard that right, guys. This massive domestic operation was launched because of a secret message leaked from a royal source inside of Iran, warning that the United States was being used as a refuge for rogue agents, regime loyalists, and possibly worse. Now think about it, right? A crumbling dictatorship on the brink of collapse, foreign military inside defecting, intelligence agents going dark, and now the U.S. government quietly launching an operation to flush out threats, hiding under the cover of asylum and labor. Folks, this is not just about farms and hotels anymore. This is about national security. The White House didn't even make a public statement because they didn't have to. Trump gave the green light behind closed doors, and ICE responded with zero hesitation. So, and let me be crystal clear. This is not just about deporting illegal workers. This is a preemptive strike against sleeper networks, embedded operatives, and foreign linked entities who have essentially exploited Biden's open door chaos to enter this country unchecked. The Department of Homeland Security confirmed this morning that these are the most widespread federal raids since the Trump administration first took office in 2017, and they're being conducted under an internal Tier 1 Homeland Integrity Alert, which is normally reserved for terrorism threats. So if you're wondering why now, if you're wondering why the sudden escalation, the answer lies in that secret message, a warning delivered from the exiled Crown Prince of Iran himself, who believes the regime is collapsing and warned President Trump of who may actually be slipping through the cracks. So, guys, we're gonna cover exactly what that message said, what it actually means for U.S. cities, and how the Iranian regime collapse may be tied to criminal cells that are hiding right here on American soil. And trust me, you have not heard this part of the story anywhere else. Now, if you're trying to manage your Medicare plan by yourself, you're basically just trying to do your taxes without a calculator. That's not smart. And the consequences, rather expensive. But Chapter makes it simple. Jamie from Texas, she saves $600 with their help. Ed, who's 84 years old, said, thanks to Ron and Chapter, I'm saving $684 a year. That is huge for someone like me on a fixed income. Hey, I really appreciate you sharing that, Ed and Jamie. Hey, guys, they compare every single plan available. They find what fits your needs, and they help you to avoid costly mistakes. So give our friends at Chapter a call. Phone number is 909-563-8279. Or hit them up on their website at askchapter.org/Ron. Smart people ask for help. And, all you got to do is let Chapter help you make the best move you can this year. Anyway, so let's go even deeper than we've gone before, because this wasn't just some routine intel briefing, guys. It wasn't just some think tank white paper or some leaked memo floating around, the State Department. This was a direct, private, high alert warning from the exiled Crown Prince of Iran, Reza Pahlavi, the son of the last Shah before the Ayatollahs seized power in 1979. And if you followed Iran's history, then you know what that means. This isn't a man playing politics. This is a man who spent his entire life watching his country burn from exile, while radical Islamists jailed women, tortured protesters, crushed free speech, and funded total terror operations across the globe. And so now, the regime that ousted his family is crumbling. And he just warned President Trump that its final act could play out right here on American soil. According to multiple sources very close to the situation, the message was sent through private diplomatic intermediaries, not blasted somewhere on social media, not leaked to the press, but carried with urgency to the White House Situation Room. And here is the core of what was said. The Islamic Republic is collapsing faster than you think. Internet and communications are blacked out. Loyalist commanders are defecting. The streets are filled with protesters, but watch your cities, because some of the regime's most dangerous assets are no longer operating inside Iran. They're fleeing, they're embedding, and some may already be inside of your borders. Let that settle in, guys. The Ayatollah's inner circle, his intelligence handlers, men trained in subversion, propaganda, and manipulation, now being tipped off as possibly having entered America during the chaos of Biden's border policies, hidden in plain sight, disguised as asylum seekers, protected by progressive sanctuary city laws. And the Crown Prince made it crystal clear. If the U.S. doesn't act now, those assets could destabilize America from within. That message shook the room. DHS officials treated it as a Tier 1 Homeland Integrity Alert, one of the highest classified available, usually reserved for real-time terror threats or confirmed foreign infiltration. And that's when President Trump moved. No press conference, no political grandstanding, no virtue signaling, just action. He authorized what officials are calling a zero tolerance interior enforcement surge. That means ICE was given full clearance to go beyond traditional undocumented labor busts and instead prioritize foreign nationals flagged as high risk or origin linked to state sponsors of terrorism, including Iran. And I want you to think back for a second. Think about how many millions of people crossed the border under Biden. Think about how many sanctuary cities bragged about refusing to ask for documentation, right? Think about how many criminal records were erased or sealed because of progressive equity initiatives. And now imagine this. What if just a handful of regime-connected operatives slipped through that chaos? What if they used those sanctuary laws, those lax ID requirements, those fraudulent asylum loopholes to disappear into blue cities across America? That's the nightmare scenario the Crown Prince was trying to prevent. He didn't ask Trump to bomb Fordo. He didn't demand military action. He just simply said, act before the threat activates itself on your soil. And Trump listened. So now the ICE raids are not just about employment. They're not just about overstayed visas or fake documents. They're about smoking out any link, however faint, to the collapsing Iranian regime. Now, we've already heard that agents are using cross-referenced intel from foreign whistleblowers, telecom traces, and Iranian flight manifests from the past 12 months. That means this is targeted, focused, and far more serious than the media is letting on. And I want you to listen to this. An ICE official speaking anonymously this morning said, this isn't just immigration enforcement. This is national defense. We're treating every sanctuary zone like a possible hostile hiding point. Now, folks, that should send a chill down your spine because this isn't just it's not just a domestic story anymore. This is a global collapse bleeding directly into U.S. soil. And the president of the United States is responding not with words, but with force. And we're just scratching the surface here, in fact. So now the question becomes, what does the collapse of Iran's regime matter to us here in the United States? Why did President Trump move ICE into high gear over a message from a man that was exiled 40 years ago? Well, let me explain. Because what's happening in Iran right now is unprecedented. Sources inside the region, brave defectors loyal to the Iranian people but not the regime, have been leaking updates to the Crown Prince, and those updates are nothing short of explosive. Military collapse in real time. Entire factions of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, that's Iran's elite terror-aligned military force, are fracturing. Senior officials, they've either gone dark, they've fled the capital, or they are entirely plotting their exit. And for the first time in decades, intelligence agents inside Tehran are refusing orders. They're saying that they will no longer detain, torture, or kill fellow Iranians just to keep the regime alive. That's a regime in free fall. And you and I know, we both know what dangerous men do when they feel like the walls are closing in. They scatter, they flee, they hide. And they don't just disappear inside their own country. They seek out nations that they know will protect them, either through loopholes or lawlessness. And where do you think that they're going to be running to? To cities like San Francisco, the neighborhoods in Chicago, New York, Minneapolis, and LA, where they know the words asylum seeker will trigger a reflexive welcome from the progressive city governments. So let me be even more direct here. These are not desperate farmers or persecuted protesters. These are trained operatives, some with blood on their hands, some with deep ties to Iran's intelligence networks, who have the resources and connections to buy new identities and embed themselves inside sympathetic American systems. And with Biden gone and Trump back in office, they're running out of time. The Crown Prince's message wasn't just a theory. It was a warning that the regime's final breath may come with a desperate international scattering. And some of those elements could already be here where we live. And so this is why President Trump's ICE raids are different this time. This isn't just about job sites and overstays. This is about containing a collapsing regime's final playbook. And I want you guys to hear this next point really clearly, guys. Now, this is really important. Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi, the man who issued a warning, also cautioned President Trump against a full military strike, specifically naming Fordo the deeply buried Iranian nuclear site. He said that the real collapse is already in motion, that military action might slow down the movement of the people rising up, that the fall of the regime needs to come from within. But, and this is the critical part, he made no such request to stop domestic ICE enforcement. In fact, if you listen to the language he used, it was clear. Empower the people, stop the operatives, let the nation collapse under its own weight, but protect your cities before they become safe havens for loyalists trying to sabotage the world's support for our freedom. So if you're wondering, did Trump move too fast? Did he act against the Crown Prince's wishes? The answer is no. He followed the roadmap. He, don't bomb the homeland, but don't let their loyalists turn America into a new front. And folks, it's working. Already, ICE has flagged dozens of undocumented individuals with suspicious travel patterns, encrypted mobile activity, and connections to Iranian financial accounts. Some of those names are now under investigation by federal counterintelligence teams. So this isn't just immigration enforcement anymore. This is a national defense through the lens of immigration control. It's what Trump meant when he said, without borders, you don't have a country. And right now, as Iran collapses, our borders, our cities, and our sovereignty are being really put to the test right now, not just by migrants, but by the foreign actors who know exactly how to exploit a broken system. So, that system, by the way, was broken by Biden. It was weakened by sanctuary city policies, but now under President Trump, it's being reclaimed, and we're just getting started. So now we follow the chain from a regime in collapse to a secret warning to Trump to a massive ICE operation on U.S. soil. But here's one more layer we need to confront. Because while President Trump is trying to root out foreign threats hiding in plain sight, there's another class of American politicians doing the exact opposite. They're not helping. They're not cooperating. They're actively harboring the very people who may be putting your neighborhood at risk. Now, I'm talking about the Sanctuary City cartel. And Trump, he just named names. Earlier today, during a Truth Social post in off-camera remarks to reporters, President Trump singled out three major players: Governor J.B. Pritzker of Illinois, Mayor Eric Adams of New York City, and Mayor Karen Bass of Los Angeles. But what did he say? These leaders are giving sanctuary not to families, but to fugitives, not to victims, but to operatives. And if they continue to obstruct federal law, we'll treat them like accessories to infiltration. That is a direct shot across the bow. According to ICE internal briefings, at least a dozen individuals with suspicious foreign links were detained in Chicago, New York, and LA during the first 48 hours of this new surge. Now, some had forged asylum paperwork, some were living in city-funded housing, and some were working under the table at businesses with ties to foreign shell corporations, including two flagged by Treasury officials for possible terror finance laundering. Now, here's the kicker. Local officials tried to block ICE from accessing these suspects. Now, let me repeat that. City leaders tried to shield foreign-linked criminals from federal law enforcement. It's lawlessness. It's betrayal. It's Democrat-run urban treason literally hiding behind words like compassion and equity. But the public's not stupid, and the public is catching on. So as ICE continues its sweep, the response from the radical left has been fast, it's been loud, and it's been dangerous. Already in Portland and in San Francisco, we're seeing protests, blockades forming around known raid targets. masked agitators, many of them, the same violent groups from the BLM and Antifa riots, they've started swarming ICE vehicles, slashing tires and throwing projectiles. In one case, a federal agent was hit in the face with a brick. And let me ask you this. Did any Democrat mayors apologize? Did any of them condemn this violence? No, they doubled down. The mayor of San Francisco issued a statement blaming ICE for escalating tensions in marginalized communities. Excuse me, what? Federal law enforcement responding to a potential foreign infiltration threat is now being framed as the villain. This is insanity, is it not? And the White House knows it. This afternoon, guys, a senior Trump spokesperson issued this response. No city is above the law. No mayor is above national security. Foreign-backed criminals will be found, removed, and if local officials stand in the way, we'll see them in federal court. Boom, right? Mind blown. That's not politics. That is wartime posture. And behind the scenes, legal teams inside the Department of Justice are reportedly exploring new measures to defund sanctuary city programs, indict obstructionist officials, and even strip federal grants from any locality refusing to cooperate with ICE operations. Folks, this is not just a battle over immigration anymore. This is a battle over sovereignty, security, and whether America is going to let foreign loyalists and radical city politicians rewrite the rules of national survival. And President Trump, he's not flinching. But here's the thing. This ICE surge, this response to the Crown Prince's warning, it's just the beginning, because what Trump's planning next will shake the entire global immigration system. So now that the raids are in motion, now that sanctuary cities are under siege, the obvious question is, well, what's next? Because if you know Trump, you already know that this isn't just a one-off operation. This is more probably like a phase one of a massive realignment of America's immigration, asylum, and national security strategy, all in response to what he now calls the final collapse of hostile regimes. So let's break it down. We're hearing from high-level sources that President Trump is preparing to roll out phase two in the coming days, and it's going to be devastating to foreign nationals that are tied to flagged states like Iran, Syria, and others. So we're talking about mass deportations of visa overstays, not just for illegal border crossers, but for anyone from nations under tier 1 threat classification. That includes individuals from Iran who overstayed, misrepresented asylum claims, or failed identity verification checks. Then, of course, there's these entry suspensions, right? A sweeping executive order is being drafted right now that will suspend all entry from nations harboring or exporting terror-aligned fugitives. This is a direct shot at the Iranian regime and potentially others that are hiding behind diplomatic niceties. Asylum overhaul. Trump's team is reportedly finalizing a new doctrine that will prioritize asylum only from collapsing regimes whose citizens actively support U.S. allies. So in other words, if your country is collapsing, but you side with American enemies, you ain't getting in. So this is a return to sanity. It's foreign policy meets immigration control, and it's about freaking time, right? Because for too long, the U.S. asylum system has been weaponized against the American people. Hostile governments push their worst actors across the borders. Our own politicians roll out the red carpets, and patriotic Americans are left to clean up the wreckage, but not anymore. President Trump addressed the nation. He said, and not just with like a primetime speech, not with empty words, but with action. He launched the raids, he lit a fire under ICE, and he's taking direct aim at the politicians and the policies that created this mess in the first place. In a statement Trump released this morning, Trump said this is a historic moment to restore immigration law and national security, to no regime collapse, no foreign conflict, and no broken city ordinance will ever justify allowing dangerous people to live freely inside our country again. America first means no safe harbor for those people who help destroy their own nations. End quote. And so there it is. That's the doctrine, guys. That's the line in the sand. That's the moment history will remember. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what you're watching right now isn't just a story about ICE raids. It's not just about illegal immigration or some sanctuary cities or even Iran. This is about sovereignty. It's about national will. This is about a president who actually knows how to use the tools of government to protect the people who elected him. The global order is shifting. Regimes are falling. America's waking up. And Trump, he's not flipping the script, or at least he's not just flipping the script. In fact, he's rewriting a brand new one for us. So make sure you're on the right side of history when it's read aloud, okay? Now, guys, if you found this breakdown powerful, I want you to like the video, share, and subscribe right now. We just getting started, okay? Comment down below. Do you support the ICE raids? Do you think the sanctuary city leaders should be federally charged? I want you to light up that algorithm and make sure that the truth reaches every American. We'll see you guys next time.